keeping live stream. Got it.
Okay, so I should be able to now go into the YouTube.
Setting up. It's still setting up.
That's live. Here we go.
There we go. Live stream.
There we go. Okay, so I should be able to now go in.
Why does it say that now?
Camera's off.
Oh, here we go. Because I need to open Zoom, right? Done. Good. Is it back?
1 sec.
Is it clear? It kind of looks fuzzy.
Yep, there it
Is
is.
the quality okay?
Hello, everyone. How does the quality? It looks a bit. Look, it's all right.
It's just narrow, like
Yeah, it's just like a box.
a box.
Hello, interdimensional lizard and John Benton. Good evening. British Army veteran, welcome. When did you serve? Were you in the Troubles? Sansy, good evening. Whoa, here comes the noise.
Sorry. I didn't even get a drink. Let's make this fast.
Go. Hey, can you fill me up with some more water, please? We're just getting there, folks. Just give us a second here.
The quality's not as good then.
On the video, but we just care about the audio.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the kettle. Folks, can you tell me if the flag, the Union Jack, when it's on its side that way, is that the correct way to have it? Or is it the wrong side? Do advise. Hello from Huddersfield. Okay, we're gonna go to live chat. Yes, American imperialism.
Okay.
Thanks. It is SPQR. It is a republic, not the empire. Leo.
I didn't even check my face.
It looks
Does it
great.
look okay?
You look
I didn't
great.
put any lips on, guys. I know you guys are here for the bold lip, but you're not getting it today. All right, so let's get started.
Okay, let me pull up the icebreaker and what.
Well, first let's introduce.
Hold on.
Okay.
We got to do the whole formal intro to the podcast.
Yeah,
correctly,
that's right. Mm-hmm.
So, okay, let's see here. We already did the one article. Okay, yeah. What was the worst? Okay, here we go. Okay, got it. Hello, everyone. I'm Felipe.
And I'm Lillian.
And welcome to the Postmod Pod episode
7.
Sorry.
This is like our wedding. Here we go. How many years have we been married? I'm just kidding. Episode
7. We are the Postmodern family, and we're trying to make sense of current events. And so welcome wherever you're listening from. We broadcast throughout the globe. We are a global podcast system through Spotify and iTunes, as well as on our website, thepostmodernfamily.com. Okay, so as usual, we're going to get started with an icebreaker.
That's right.
So here we go.
To break the ice.
You ready for this one? Here we are. What was the worst style choice you ever made? What was the worst style choice you ever made?
I think a style that I know that you would absolutely hate that I'd made when I was a teenager.
Wide bottom pants.
Yeah, I was I guess it was like a emo punk phase.
Emo punk. What is that? What is emo punk?
It's like a dark eyeliner and
Oh
your
my
hair
goodness.
in like I wore my hair in like pigtails or buns, kind of like Chung
Uh-huh.
Li in Street Fighter buns.
Mm.
And then I would wear big pants, like trousers that were really wide legged. And
Hmm.
then maybe like a crop top that was very loud in color. And
Right,
um
right.
and I would
So,
wear lots of like chokers, necklaces, and bracelets,
okay.
lots of like
Right,
accessories as well.
right, right,
So this was in my teenage years.
right, right. Okay, for me, let's say for me, I sound distant. Tell me, guys, how's the audio for you guys?
You're always too loud when I'm editing, just so you know.
I'm just loud in general, but how are the live streamers?
Maybe it's it's your phones, your headphones. Try
Yeah.
now.
Okay. Hello. That's a little bit better. Okay. So for me, it would have to be the MC Hammer pants, the parachute
You wore
pants.
those?
I had one pair of black MC Hammer
Da, da,
parachute
da.
pants. I can't help but sound like that. Anyway, we'll see how it comes out in post. But yeah, so they were tight at the ankle. They were tight at the ankle, and then
Mm-hmm.
just big through the knee and thigh, and
Mm-hmm.
then they would come back tight at the waist.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
yeah, and then but I never mastered the whole
Dance.
the dance where you
That's a good thing.
yeah. Okay, so um let's begin. Why don't you begin with
All
your
right.
stories?
So, first of all, we are Americans living in the UK and we live a traditional family life. And we are going to cover 2 or 3 stories and then we'll chat about it. So, if you haven't listened to our stuff before, it's all on our website, like Felipe said, as well as on iTunes, podcasts, and Spotify. But today, I'm going to start out with the latest news. So, the sad news that we heard about John McAfee. He was found dead in his cell when in where was it? In
Spain.
Bolivia.
I think it wasn't it in Spain?
I think I'm not sure exactly
Oh,
where, but I found a interview of his wife talking about her last conversation with him.
uh-huh.
It says, this is by disclose.tv. It says, new, Janice McAfee, the widow of antivirus creator John McAfee, blames US authorities for his death, says he was not suicidal. So, in case you didn't know, John McAfee is the founder of McAfee Antivirus. And
that's like a 90s thing for me.
Yeah, but it was huge everywhere.
Yeah, everyone had McAfee.
And he went a little bit like, I don't know how to say, rogue, I guess, in 2010, and he did a lot of drugs and started like
Matt Hancock
doing
did.
No, John McAfee.
Oh, sorry. My brain is on Matt Hancock, but okay, John McAfee. Yes.
Yeah, and so yeah, he was pretty much in exile, like running away from the law because he was accused of murdering his neighbor in somewhere else that was not the US. And anyway, so he was going to be, let's just listen to what she's got to say. Okay, so what I found really interesting about this woman, though, is that they met when he had hired her for a night, apparently, and he fell in love with her. It was like Pretty Woman. This is a prostitute,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like the story of Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And they've been happily married for about 8 years, I think, since then. So here is the video.
Welcome, Nate Poff, my man.
John McAfee was not suicidal. I spoke with him a few hours before he was found dead. We spoke about the court's decision to extradite him to the U.S. It did not come as a surprise to either of us. We were prepared for that decision and had a plan of action already in place to appeal that decision. I blame the U.S. authorities for this tragedy. Because of these politically motivated charges against him, my husband is now dead. His last words to me were, "I love you, and I will call you in the evening." Those words are not words of someone who is suicidal. All Jaw wanted to do was spend his remaining years fishing and drinking. He did not deserve to die in a filthy prison like a caged animal. We knew that there would be an uphill battle to continue to fight this situation, but he's a fighter. He's always a fighter, and anybody that knows John, that knows him even a little bit, knows that about him. He would never quit this way. He would never take his life in this way. I don't believe he did this, and I will get answers. I want answers of how this was able to happen.
Yeah, so what's crazy, in case you don't know what's happening here, is everyone is saying that he was suicided. That the reports that came back said that it looked like suicide, that he committed suicide, but he tweeted only about a week or 2 weeks before that.
But why do we care about McAfee?
I just think it's interesting that he kind of foreshadowed this. But he said that if he was going to be killed off, it would be like an Epstein, that it would happen like that, that he probably didn't do it. And I just wanted to find that tweet. And I guess I'm talking about it because I feel like we are in this era of big government and mainstream media that run stories however they want, and clearly it seems like he was killed off for who knows what he knew, but I just wanted to find that tweet that he said. Let's see.
So yeah, he said a lot of controversial things. I think he came out straight away and said, "Don't take the vaccine." Many people considered him a high wizard of conspiracy theorists, and he had an operation in which he was mining a lot of Bitcoin or a lot of crypto coin. And he threatened that if he were to pass away, if he was to be suicided, he would release reams and reams of data that would implicate lots of powerful people. And I'm getting indications here and there on the Twitter sphere and other places that that's coming and it's happening, but I don't know. I'm gun shy from the whole QAnon Trump election thing and believing people that say these sorts of things. So we'll see when it happens.
I can't get past all these ads. Like trying to read this article. It had it, and then you know how it like reloads.
So Golgotha says he had info on powerful people. He admitted it on camera. That's why they went after him. He said some departments of the U.S. government were the largest trafficker of people and drugs. So shall we?
Everyone has all these. Okay. He says, oh, that's not the one I wanted. It says, getting subtle messages from the U.S. officials saying, in effect, quote, "We're coming for you, McAfee. We're going to kill yourself. I got a tattoo today just in case. If I suicide myself, I didn't. I was whacked. Check my right arm." And then there's a picture of his tattoo. So he did seem it, and then he made several other tweets that says like, "I'm comfortable here. I like the food here. I'm content here. I have friends here. You know, if I kill myself, a la Epstein, you know what happened for real." Like he seemed really suspicious of this happening, and I believe him. I think
so. You highlight the story because it points to the fact that there isn't rule of law and that powerful people are just doing whatever they want.
Yeah, and I feel like you have to be careful that you can't just believe what the mainstream media wants you to believe and what government officials want you to believe.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the people who are looking for the truth aren't the government officials, aren't the mainstream media. The people who are looking for the truth tend to be the ones on Twitter and his wife. These people are saying these things that it does not look like suicide. Well, why are the government officials reporting that it is?
I'm just eager to see if there's any data that he releases. I want to see that. I mean, it was such a revelation in
Julian Assange.
2016 with Julian Assange and just dropping emails, and it was great. So
he might have a whole treasure trove of stuff, which is why he was offed. But so that's my first one. I don't know. Are there any comments from our YouTube video viewers?
It says, we only know a part of the corruption the CIA gets up to, Paul says. Good riddance to McAfee, Buster X says. Moody BL says it's conspiracy theorist dream. And then Keystar G60, who's been watching our channel for years, Keystar 60, I know that name, says extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence.
Yeah, so we'll see. Basically, we'll see what happens. But I feel bad for him because it does seem like near the end of his life, he truly did want to just fish and hang out with his wife. And they seem really happy. It's hard for someone to find true happiness when you're a billionaire or whatever you are. And okay, my second story is related because I'm just wondering if you still believe in government officials, listen to this. This is a tweet by CDC Gov, which is an American, I realize, Center for Disease Control. And it says, if you've already had #COVID-19 and recovered, you should still get vaccinated against COVID-19. True or false? And it was a poll. And so the results are currently, after 23,966, so almost 24,000 votes, 34% true, 66% false. And I just wanted to mention it just because the comments here are so funny and they're so good, because some of the people are saying, is the CDC really asking us? Like, they don't know. Other people are saying, was this sponsored by Moderna? Right. And then people sharing actual studies that say the study findings reveal that individuals with previous SARS-CoV-2 infection do not get additional benefits from vaccination, indicating that COVID-19 vaccines should be prioritized to individuals without prior infection. So most of what I see is like, what a stupid question that they're asking and what propaganda this is. And then of course you get the odd doctor here and there saying, this is why we are still in lockdown, because people don't believe in the vaccine. And then of course people under that go just totally shaming that person, that doctor. So I think we're at a point where there's so many lies. I feel like there's so much manipulation of the truth that people they're crossing wires now, and basically the truth will set you free. And I believe that the more we just try and find and we try and speak the truth, the more we're going to get out of this. But what I notice is the idea that the vaccine, first of all, the fact that you get COVID, and then right in the beginning when they were saying, oh, you can now get your vaccine, I thought, okay, that's fine for people who haven't had COVID, obviously, right? Because the traditional vaccine, for example, chicken pox, if you've gotten chicken pox and you heal from it and you have immunity, then you don't need to get the chicken pox vaccine, right? So then when people were saying, oh yeah, I already had COVID, but I'm still getting the vaccine, I was like, what are you doing? Isn't it supposed to prevent you from getting coronavirus, even though you've already had it and you've already built up natural immunity? Why are you still getting it? And they said, oh, it's because you can still pass it on, right? But then now they're saying, oh, all the people who are fully vaccinated have free passes to go everywhere. And because why? Because they can't pass it on? No, clearly not. That's not what they argued to begin with. So there's a great contradiction right there. Have you heard that?
No.
Yeah, like the video of the Ascot party. Did you see that? So, I should play that. The Royal Ascot, they were partying.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And
the Queen was there, wasn't
the
she?
Queen showed up, yeah. But this was just like camera footage, phone footage. And people were in uproar that these elites got to not social distance. No one was wearing masks. They were all partying, drinking, and dancing and singing. Yeah. And yet everyone else is just still locked down in their homes. You can't have weddings. You can't have funerals over 30. And there's like way more than 30 in this crowd. And then that was what I wanted to share. So then someone asked Matt Hancock, why, what's going on here? Is there a double standard? And I've got to find that video. So go ahead and you talk and I'll find that video.
Well, what I was going to say is that over the years, I've been more and more persuaded in that the change in which countries are ruled in the West, at least, from a hereditary leading class to a popularly elected any man's game kind of situation. It's set up a situation where who are the most powerful today in the West? It's the wealthy, basically. It's the, but not just the wealthy, but the big corporations. And big corporations are multinational. They are like hives that just go searching for food wherever they'll find it and are self-interested, basically. They have no patriotic duty or obligation or loyalty to their country of origin at all. So when political parties and political institutions and politicians are manipulated and beholden and paid off by entities that have no vested interest in the success of their country, that's the situation today. Now, if you compare that to how things used to be, I'm not saying used to be perfect, but where you had a ruling class that was hereditary, these people's lands, these people's homes, these people's families were part of the soil, they've bled on the soil, they haven't, you have built-in loyalties to their country. I mean, we're an example of a kind of a nomadic people. You and I, our families have left communist-ridden countries and come to the West, and we've spent a couple of decades in the US and now have come here. And so I'm not saying we don't love the UK or we don't love America, but it makes the love of an individual who has 8 generations behind him that have shed blood for freedom and shed blood for country and done things for the country. They're less likely to just pack bags and go when things get difficult. Right. So I'm becoming more and more persuaded that as we see big pharmaceuticals controlling government policy, as we see corporations ramming down alphabet soup initiative, and all these corporations are just opportunists looking to enrich themselves. And they don't have vested interest in the virtue and goodness of their country. So
they're kind of like Transformers, where they come in and they use up the resources.
They're the Decepticons, basically. They're just here to pillage. And so is this really the situation that we want to be in? Or are we going to see, not unlike how in British history, where Cromwell came in and established by force a republic, and then the British people said, actually, you're a bigger tyrant than the king is, or king was. so let's invite the monarchy back in. Is there going to be a swing back? And I hope there is.
So I found the video. This is Good Morning Britain interviewing Matt Hancock. And this is not about the Ascot. This is about the football and how they're able to continue. And that there was a case that a positive COVID case on the team. Did you hear about this?
No.
And they didn't have to shut down or something.
Oh, yes, I did.
So here's this interview.
Bigger weddings. We all want that joy.
Okay, back to here. 1, 2, 3, go.
Brought to you off the back of that discussion about the football, because a lot of people thinking, hang on a moment, if the Scotland team don't need to isolate after one of their number has tested positive for COVID, how come whole classes of children are being sent home after one case of COVID in the class? Can you explain?
Well, of course, the Scotland team are in a bubble together. There are critical processes, obviously, that are written down, and I'm assured that they're following these assiduously. And they're designed so that the competition can go ahead. Now, thankfully, England and Wales are both through to the last 16, and I wish Scotland every chance. I really hope that they can get
sorry,
through as
you've
well.
just
It'd be
sorry.
great to have
Anybody?
3 home nations.
Yes, the whole point of a bubble. Sorry, under your rules, the whole point of a bubble is that if someone tests positive in a bubble, then the bubble goes into isolation. But what you've said is there is a competition going on, and that seems to be trumping our coronavirus rules. Am I right?
Well, the rules with respect to the Scotland team playing in Scotland are written by and a matter for Public Health Scotland, and I'm assured that the Scotland team are following them assiduously, and that is a matter for the Scotland manager.
How many times has he said Scotland now?
I also very much hope that we can keep this competition going, because it's bringing so much joy to so many people.
Yeah, but hang on, Mr. Hancock, you seem to be saying, well, hang on, it's football, let's keep the joy going. But we all want joy in our lives. Everybody wants joy in our lives. We want to go on holiday. We want parties. We want bigger weddings. We all want that joy. Why are you putting more priority on this football tournament than our safety and everybody's safety? Why is it one rule for footballers and one rule for others? And this is a very dangerous message. And you have said the nation has to come together, but we're not on this occasion.
Well, throughout the pandemic, we've had specific rules for elite sports to make sure that those sports can carry on, right? All the way through this winter, the Premier League continued, for instance, the Scottish Football League continued, and it did so by having specific testing regimes and specific rules around it. And I'm assured that the Scotland team are following those rules. So we put that in place for a reason, which is that, this winter was tough enough, even with the football on the telly. And of course, we all want to get out of these restrictions. And, ultimately, it is the vaccine that is the way out of it. But we have got a specific set of rules, both for the...
He didn't answer it.
Yeah. He did what politicians do. They just filibuster.
So what do you
That's
think?
what he gets paid for.
Do you think that the Scotland team should have isolated and shut down, like not played games because of?
No, I think everyone should be back to normal. You know my view on that. So.
Yeah, I know. But he is really trying to dance around this. And clearly, I hope people are watching it. I hope they're seeing the hypocrisy.
Well, this is the one thing that I've noticed that British people have very low tolerance for. I think Americans have a higher tolerance for it, and that's hypocrisy in their government officials and in the elite class. Whenever the elite class try to pull off a do as I say, not as I do, hell breaks loose.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, instantly. Hancock has been, which we'll get to, is my first story, has been savaged.
Yes.
Massively. And and the calling for his sack is ringing through the whole country.
But let's go to your story now, because I think
let's go to my story. Here
it looks like the cards are falling in place.
Now.
Oh, okay.
Distracting me. Here we go. Okay, my first story is the long anticipated. I'm sure everyone joined the live chat for this story, and it is Matt Hancock has apologized for breaking social distancing rules after being accused of having an affair with a close aide. According to the Sun newspaper, Health Secretary Matt Hancock has been having an affair with his aide, Gina Coladangelo. The tabloid published a photo allegedly showing the pair kissing at his Whitehall office in May when social distancing rules for workplaces were in place. Matt Hancock has since issued a statement admitting he breached the social distancing guidance in these circumstances, but did not respond to calls for his resignation by the opposition. And there's the picture. He's grabbing that tush too.
He's not just kissing; they are making out.
So, so the thing that's interesting is that he hasn't apologized for the affair. He's just apologizes for violating social distancing.
Who cares about his wife, what she thinks?
Yeah, but it seems like it's been going on for a while, and it seems like people are suggesting that he only brought her on in March.
Just a fly on the microphone. Get out of there. Oh my goodness.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
He only brought her on in March.
Okay. Of 2020, of 2021.
And so people are suggesting that he was having schnookums before.
Oh.
And therefore there was a conflict of interest, and he brought her on specifically. He rewarded his mistress.
Really?
Basically. That's what they're suggesting.
Goodness.
I don't know if that's true. But what is also interesting about the story is that the angle of the camera is from inside his office.
Oh,
it's from
inside of his office.
So he leans against the door so that no one comes into the office.
Right.
And you'd think that he would be aware, having worked in his office, of CCTV cameras in his office. So it seems like it was a planted camera that he wasn't aware of. And so someone who knew this affair was happening planted the camera to get the evidence and publicize it, and thereby bring him down. So it's just the plot. This is a soap opera. This is better than, is this what EastEnders is like? I wonder.
Well, I think it's a part of a plan. I personally think that if they didn't want him to go down, they wouldn't have allowed this footage to get out. So I think they've...
You mean who's they?
I think the government. Oh. I think the government...
You think they wield that much control?
I do. I kind of... I feel like they're big brother.
Get your tinfoil hat out.
If they can block all of the, reports of the protests in, thousands of people in London City, then I'm sure they could block that.
When you say block, what does that mean?
Take it down. Anytime it shows up on the internet, take it down. Just take it down. And no one would be able to see it. That is what Orwell prophesied.
He named it.
That people would be deleting stuff. I remember reading that book as a child and thinking, how would they be able to delete what's printed? Because back then you would read things in printed books or magazines. But no, it's happening now where we read everything on digital, online, and it's so easy for it to just disappear like that.
Yeah. So if it means that this is the beginning of the end of lockdown and that Hancock is going to be scapegoated,
I think so.
Well, okay, I'm good with that. He's a sacrificial goat for.
But it doesn't mean that the government is going to let go of any of the power that they've already taken.
And as I was telling you earlier, this is not unlike the Imperial College scientist or Imperial University, I can't remember what it's called, but in which during first lockdown, he developed the pandemic model showing how many deaths would occur if there wasn't a lockdown. And I think it predicted some insane number, like 1 million or 500,000 within 2 weeks or within a month. And on the basis of that model, the government instituted the first lockdown.
Yeah.
And while he was working on the Cobra committee or whatever, he was having an affair with some blonde, red lipstick kind of floozy, if I may, and over at his place, being married, etc. during
Yeah.
lockdown.
Yeah.
So I think historically, this is the thing, is that historically it's always as ever been the case. You can rely, they say that there's two things that are certain in life, death and taxes. But I think the other thing you can rely on is that the ruling elite will have one rule for them and one rule for you. It's always been the case. Even in the US, the presidents have had affairs for ages. But the thing that's interesting is that no longer, the difference is that the people that are in power have little vested interest in the country anymore. And so is it disappointing that they're violating their own standards? Yes, it is. But that happens. It's normal. What's different and disappointing is that these people don't have vested interest in the country. That I'm sure they have shares in pharmaceuticals. I'm sure they're making money off of these things, off of face masks, whatever it might be. People are now bought and paid for. Money, the dollar is king, or money is king.
I think Chicot the Jester says it's Neil Ferguson.
Yeah, Neil Ferguson,
Professor
exactly.
Pants Down.
Yes, Professor Pants Down.
And then Paul Kay says that it's probably Cummings. Cummings hated Hancock. He will be the one behind this photo being released. Dominic
Yes.
Cummings.
He looks like Mr. Smithers.
Oh right, yeah.
He's just demonic looking.
He looks, I just remember in The Spitting Image, he was portrayed as like a vampire. Right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And then the Phantom Pain quotes Orwell here. Every record has been destroyed or falsified. Every book rewritten. Every picture has been repainted. Every statue and street building has been renamed. Every date has been altered.
There you have it. And my second and last story is on the BBC. I don't usually quote the BBC, but there you have it. BBC News. The title of the news article is Nike Boss Defends Firm's Business in China. The boss of Nike has made a robust defense of the firm's business in China after facing a consumer boycott there. Okay, so a consumer boycott in China.
Interesting.
Chief Executive John Donohue said, quote, Nike is a brand that is of China and for China, end quote, in response to a question about competition from Chinese brands. Mr. Donohue was speaking during a call with Wall Street analysts about Nike's latest earnings report. The comments come after the sportswear giant was recently hit by a backlash over statements about, is it Xinjiang? Xinjiang? How do you pronounce that province that starts with an X?
I can't see it. Oh,
up there.
Xinjiang.
I was way off. Xinjiang. Mr. Donohue made the comments during a discussion on Nike's fourth quarter earnings, which showed revenues had doubled to a better than expected $12.3 billion for the 3 months to the end of March. Can you imagine making $12.3 billion in a quarter?
I can't.
In one quarter.
Imagine. I don't even know what that looks like.
That helped it bounce back to a $1.5 billion profit from a $790 million loss during the depths of the pandemic a year earlier. The figures also showed that revenue in China rose to more than $1.9 billion, but missed Wall Street's expectations of $2.2 billion. Mr. Donohue said he remained confident that China would continue to be a fast-growing market for the company due to its many years of investments there. Okay, now, why was Nike boycotted in China? Several Western brands, including Nike and Swedish fashion retailer H&M, I didn't know H&M was Swedish, recently faced a backlash from Chinese shoppers after the firms expressed concerns about the alleged use of Uyghur forced labor in cotton production. In March, a group of Western countries imposed sanctions on officials in China over rights abuses against the mostly Muslim Uyghur minority group. The sanctions were introduced as coordinated effort by the European Union, UK, US, and Canada. In December, the BBC published an investigation based on new research showing China was forcing hundreds of thousands of minorities, including Uyghurs, into manual labor in Xinjiang's cotton fields. What is Xinjiang and who are the Uyghurs? Xinjiang, China's biggest region, produces about a fifth of the world's cotton.
Wow.
An autonomous region in theory, that is, it seems self-governing, I guess. In reality, it faces restrictions which have only increased in recent years. Millions of China's Uyghurs, a Muslim minority that sees itself as culturally and ethnically close to Central Asian nations, live in Xinjiang. In recent decades, mass migration of Han Chinese ethnic majority, to Xinjiang has fueled tensions with Uyghurs, which has at points flared into deadly violence. This has resulted in a massive security crackdown and an extensive state surveillance program, which critics say violate Uyghur human rights. China says such measures are necessary to combat separatism and terrorism. Uyghurs have been detained at camps where allegations of torture, forced labor, and sexual abuse have emerged. China has denied these claims, saying the camps are re-education facilities aimed at lifting Uyghurs out of poverty.
Have you seen those propaganda videos about the Uyghurs schools and how they are re-educating? There was a
They put TVs in front of them or something?
No, it just showed them in a classroom and they were singing Chinese traditional songs and the Uyghur people were like, oh, this is nice and I like to learn about this tradition and
with a gun to their head behind the camera.
Behind the camera, exactly.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So this is what I mean. This is the theme of
Uyghurs.
Oh.
Paul Cannon says Uyghurs.
Uyghurs. Okay. Didn't you know that?
What's that?
Did you know that it was Uyghurs?
No, I don't think it's a Chinese word. It's like
it's like a Muslim word, or Arabic or something.
Yeah.
Do they speak Arabic? Does anyone know? Anyway, this is what I was saying, is that Nike is just a blood-sucking entity that just seeks to enrich itself. To an American company to come out and say, we are for China by China.
Yeah.
And then to be complicit, basically, with what's happened, with what's happening there in China. I'm saying they have no allegiances whatsoever. And I think a day is coming when the pendulum is going to swing back, and these companies are going to be castrated and they're power bound because we are seeing the fruits of their existence now, where they have no compunction whatsoever. Whatever leads them to greater profits, that is what they will do.
Yeah, that's terrible. And you've seen the video of the train of prisoners being taken into in China. The Uyghur people were there's like pictures or maybe video, I forget, and they have like their heads are shaved. Did you remember this?
No.
Their heads are shaved and they're walking in 2x2s into this like train, I think it was.
God loves a trier, Felipe, Paul Cannon says.
Trier?
Yeah, I keep trying.
Oh. Xing chong, xing chong.
Xing chong.
Yeah, so it's really terrible that it seems like no one is doing anything about it. That's what's really
all
bad.
The virtue signalers of racism and homophobia and destroying the climate and the earth. No one dares raise a finger at China. No one dares protest at the Chinese embassy.
Yeah, why is that? Like, no one is pointing the finger at China except Trump was regarding this coronavirus outbreak, and then hiding information or whatever about when they actually had the outbreak. And then now that we know that it's possibly man-made in one of their facilities.
I think because a lot of these, is it possible that all the modern ideologies have been now weaponized and taken advantage of by Chinese psyops, basically, or enemies of the West?
Because they did it very clever.
They did it at the first official diplomatic session between the US and the UK. I mean, the US and China, where the US critiqued the Chinese delegation for the Uyghurs. There's Uyghurs.
Yeah.
God loves a good trier. So the Uyghurs and the Chinese shot right back and said, look at your own people who are critiquing you for racism. Your problem is endemic and you have racist cops, you have violence in your cities. How dare you have no moral stature to criticize me? You know, and that was proper strategic pushback.
They're ready for that.
They're ready for that.
Yeah. I think they think that their culture is the best. So they have no moral problem with re-educating, quote unquote, the minorities in their country to fit. This is basically like forced assimilation. But anyway, we don't know what the condition of their re-education camps are. We don't know what it's like.
Yeah. There have been some cameras snuck in there, here and there. But anyway, so I think politicians bought and paid for by multinationals, and those multinationals probably on their boards have individuals who span across many companies and are pulling the strings. And the West is destroying itself, and China is taking advantage, I think. And so we must brace for some interesting times, I think. Either a subset of the West will wake up and push back, or we're headed for a Chinese hegemony in the next a Chinese century.
I don't know what's going to happen with how much the West, America and the UK have just been printing money. And we've already have such a huge debt in both of these countries.
I wonder who's been buying
China,
the new money. But then that hobbles them, because the West could just say, well, forget it, I'm not paying anything.
I don't know.
They could just stop paying the interest on those debts. I don't think.
Who's buying it?
Does anyone know who's been buying the majority of the new printed money? I don't know. Anyway, okay. So shall we then end with a little AMA, or are we ending the podcast?
Yeah, we'll end the podcast now, and then we'll do some question answers with our YouTube people. So
yes. Okay. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to episode 7. We hope you enjoyed this informal round the table conversation on current events. If you have any suggestions, you can email us at thepostmodernfamily@gmail.com. And if you just want to make a comment and you just want to feedback, you can send us and we'll read it. We'll read the email. But also on our iTunes and Spotify, if you want to rate the podcast, rate it 5 stars. Nothing less, please. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now that the podcast aspect of the live session is finished, we will do, let's call it 10 minutes of AMA, 10 minutes of Ask Us Anything.
Maybe 5. What time is it?
It's 10:20.
5 minutes.
5 minutes, the wife says. 5 minutes of AMA. Okay, guys, there's 42 of you on the live chat. So why don't you fire away while we wait for that. Let's do another funny icebreaker. What was the worst haircut you've ever had? What was the worst haircut you've ever had?
It's not a haircut. It's a perm.
Whatever. Okay.
When I was in 3rd grade, so that's like 8 years old, I think. Yeah. I wanted to get a perm because my mom had a perm, my dad had a perm, everyone had a perm back then.
Hold that thought on your perm. Are you going to have the vaccine? What if your work requires it? Fred Flintstone, what do you think?
No, I'm not going to get the vaccine. And if it gets to the point where you have to, I mean, I just feel like that violates your human autonomy, your health.
Yeah.
If it gets to that point, I don't know.
My stock answer is that not while it's still in experimental trials on the human race. So after a few years, if this experimental trial shows that things are still okay, I might consider it, but not for now. Okay, continue on with your perm. Wait, are you still eating sausages at breakfast? I miss those sausage scissors. You will be pleased to know, Goldilocks, that the children, all 3 of them, eat 2 sausages every day for breakfast. Every day. I don't eat them anymore, but the scissors have gone because they like just putting each sausage on a fork and then just biting. Biting on the end.
They didn't want us to cut it for them anymore.
Okay, do you watch Brett Weinstein? I follow him on Twitter. Have you heard of ivermectin?
Ivermectin.
It's a treatment.
Yes, and it sounds like it works, and that the people who said it worked back then and were totally shamed and canceled for saying that are now owed great apologies, because the evidence has been shown that not only that, but also hydroxychloroquine also work.
Okay, here we go. We got some good questions now. British Army veteran says, Felipe, I saw your Instagram post about the length of your shorts. Do you wear the controversial Crocs? No, I don't wear Crocs. I won't be caught dead wearing Crocs. Okay, David Payne says, what do you guys think of the UFO situation as Christians? I've heard some Christians say they could be demons. Aleister Crowley summoned a demon, according to him, and picture looks like a gray alien. What are your thoughts?
I haven't looked into it very much, but I doubt that they are aliens, and I doubt that they are.
So you're an alien denier, also, as well as a COVID denier.
I think maybe.
Okay. As for me, I'm open to the idea that aliens exist. Do I think they're demons? Not sure. Haven't put a lot of thought to it, if I'm honest. Okay. Comment, apparently eating chocolate for breakfast is good for you now. Proper chocolate, that is. Okay.
We don't eat breakfast, so.
Hello, John Walters from Manchester. Okay, as we wait for the next question. So what happened with your perm?
It was just very curly, very tight curls. And I wanted wavy hair.
Okay.
And he said it was just like an afro.
But how long was the hair at that stage?
It was down to my shoulders. So it was like a big curly afro, and I was in 3rd grade. And immediately when I got home, I started trying to brush it out. I thought I could just brush it straight. It was the worst year of my life, just trying to grow that hair out.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the next question. Are we at war with China already? People's war, all this Marxist madness and identity politics is just part of a tactical play division that is very subtle and slow burn of divide and conquer, ? Okay. I think you're asking, do we agree? Yes, there's some truth in that. As for me, my worst haircut ever is probably a mullet with lines on the side of my head.
Oh my goodness.
3 horizontal lines.
And it was long in the back?
It was long in the back.
Oh my goodness.
So this was shaved. And then it was big here.
It's like a faux hawk, like a mohawk almost.
And then, no, because the mohawk just goes down the middle. This was the entire width of my head.
That's gross.
Then long hair in the back. And then,
did you wear it in a ponytail?
No, and it was loose, full.
Oh my goodness!
And then 3 lines on each side. That was the ticket.
That's horrible.
That was the ticket.
What gave you the idea to do that?
Just the neighborhood kids were doing it. It was the style in my neighborhood. Will you guys be having a staycation this year? No, we hope to travel. Can you tell us why you came to the UK? No problem if you'd rather not say. Hail and place. So we've made a video on why we've come. I forget what the title was. It was the one where we filmed in the kitchen and the tile is behind us.
I think it's called why we moved to the UK.
But in short, there's a couple of reasons, but mainly wanted to have long admired English history and wanted to see it for myself and possibly contribute to the resuscitation of goodness in England if possible. So we took a job transfer. Okay. How many businesses have shut down near you? Many businesses have shuttered near my home, Bay Area, California. Yesterday, I found out that my barber shop closed. Now my wife is my barber. Well, my wife has been my barber since we got married, since before we got married, really. Near us, I haven't noticed any businesses shut down. Have you?
I do know that the charity shop, my favorite charity shop, is closing down, but she says that it didn't have to do with the lockdowns or anything, and that the owner of the shop that she's using is selling. But I do think that has to do with that. And they were shut for more than a year, that charity shop, because just imagine.
That charity shop.
That charity shop was shut for a long time.
Paul Cannon says I should bring that look back because he says that's a badass look.
No.
I'll do it.
No.
Golgotha, does China have imperialist intentions? Of course it does. Of course it does. Okay, let's see what
Is that
time
5
is it.
minutes?
Let's see. That is 7 minutes.
There we
Okay,
go.
guys, I'll count down 30 seconds for the last question. One. No, I won't do that. But anyway, it's been a real joy to spend time with you guys. All 40 plus of you, which I think is about 0.1% of our subscriber base.
Okay.
I wonder if this is an odd hour, but it is the hour that works for us. So you're just going to have to deal with it. Just deal with it. But it's been a pleasure spending time with you, and we hope you have a good evening.
Have a nice weekend. Hopefully the sun will come back. It's been very rainy over here for the last week. We put the pool up 2 weeks ago, and I just put it away because it was just so rainy.
Take care. Good night and good luck.
Bye.
I'm still here.